Hello, everybody. This is Al Stash, and welcome back to UpTown Villa Park. We've got a great guest here today, Deputy Chief of the Villa Park Police Department, Mike Lay. But first, before we get into talking with Mike Lay, I want to say hello to our two co-hosts. First of all, on my left is Dennis Keating. How are you, Dennis?
Good morning, fine. I got up this morning. I was right awake and sun's out.
The sun's out.
Beautiful outside.
Do you know there's like 30-some days left before we're into springtime? Less than 40 days.
Fantastic. I'm all for it.
Really? You don't like the winter?
I hate the weather.
Why? You get to go out and shovel your driveway?
I don't have to do that no more. Thank you.
Your lovely wife goes out there. Well, you're in the apartment in
I guess
College Grove.
we're in the condo now, so we don't have to do that no more.
Really?
She's got to do the balcony.
Do you tip the guy that shovels your driveway? Or?
No, we don't.
No, you don't.
The
Just
association does.
tell him to get out of the way.
You know, I was surprised the association even tipped a mailman.
They do.
Yes.
He's a government official.
Gets a nice tip too. They tell us not to do it. The association takes care of it.
That's nice. That's nice.
It's
I'm going to
good.
use that. I'm going to use that at restaurants. I'm not tipping you today. The association takes care of it.
That's right. Yeah.
Let's see if that works. Sid, how are you? Sid Berg's over here. How you doing, Sid?
I'm doing great, Al. I'm doing great.
You look fabulous.
As Dennis said, when I got up in the morning and got to be able to stand up, I think it's great.
Yeah.
And I would have worn a more colorful shirt, but this was the one I had available, and I had to either go change the shirt or forego a cup of coffee. And
Yeah.
you know, in the morning, the coffee is far more important.
Yeah.
And so I apologize. Your vast listening, our vast listening audience.
Yeah, we were getting the telephone switchboard is lighting up over what you're wearing. So. Anyway, the VFW had a great event. We helped promote it a little bit, and that was the Valentine's Day, pre-Valentine's Day dinner Saturday night. How did it go? I heard it was pretty good.
It was packed.
Yeah.
It was, they did just about everything, and the food lasted all the way through. But it was just about gone by the time they closed up. There was a girl, and her name escapes me now, that made sauerkraut. There was a combination sweet sour that was just great. And the last two people didn't get the sauerkraut, but other than that, they worked well. And the tables were all filled. We put up extra tables.
Yeah.
And the band, Rush. Anyway, they played music that was soft and danceable, and some jazz too, and so people just had a tremendous time.
Yeah.
I thought, man, it's something like I remember the old days.
Yeah. Yeah.
The old days of the VFW.
I'm still thinking, Sid, and we've had this conversation last show. Pork and sauerkraut just doesn't fly off the tongue when you're talking about Valentine's Day, but I'm sure it was a good event.
Well, I think you were there and you probably tasted it.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I was told to stay home.
Because it was such a, I agree with you, it doesn't sound like, wow, you know, but...
Come on, honey, let's go have some sauerkraut. Sid, it was a good event. I'm just teasing.
You can tease me all you want. It just went super well. Commander Tim was doing such a good job. He was doing very, very good. I can't say enough good about him.
He and his wife do a great job. I know she's part of it as well. What's her name? Mary Ann?
All the volunteers, we're just working with their tails off.
Great. There was another good event here in Villa Park last Friday, the day before, and that was the ribbon cutting ceremony for a brand new business here in Villa Park called Bob's Discount Furniture. Have you guys seen this place yet?
You've seen it, been over there once, just walked through it. Very nice.
Very nice, very nice. Let me ask you about access, because some people are not able to, they have a second floor. They have an elevator and all that?
They have an escalator.
Escalator?
Yeah.
They don't have an elevator?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I didn't get up there.
But it's a huge store right in the Villa Oaks Shopping Center. And they had a ribbon cutting ceremony. They did great. They actually had a soft opening the day before, and they were very proud of the business that they did. A couple of other stores opened up, one in Aurora off of 59.
There's 5 of them all together.
5 of them, right. And so they're here to stay, and I'm telling you, it's phenomenal, that store.
I can't imagine the advertisement they're putting into it, right? came down the street today, a bus had the signs on it with Bob Rogers.
Already, yeah.
Already. And they're on television like crazy. So the advertising budget that they must have is fantastic.
Yeah.
They're out of the East, out of New York. I
Right,
guess. Yeah.
East Coast money, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're great people. I had a chance to meet with their regional manager and their store manager and a lot of their associates there. And also, they presented a check as part of the ribbon cutting ceremony to Montini Catholic High School, which is the Catholic high school for Villa Park, so it's not like it's out of our area. And also for $2,500, and then I believe they also gave a check, not in the ribbon cutting, but they did it elsewhere, to the Villa Park Library.
Library
About $1,000, I think it was, right?
and they also gold sponsors to the Chamber of Commerce.
All good things.
You know, they're all very community minded,
Right.
which is very good.
And a couple of people, including myself, I walked around and looked at the prices. The prices are pretty fair.
Yeah.
And I think people are going to enjoy shopping.
Can I add just a little bit? We had.
You got an anecdote for us?
I had a guy.
Yeah.
There was a salesman there.
Uh-huh.
Mark. I forget his last name.
Yeah.
But he worked bingo with us on Tuesday night, and he was telling me about how it is to work for, which is great. And he said the prices, as far as he could tell, as he knows, were better, or were the same or better than any of the other big boxes
Yes.
around.
Yeah, yeah. And also the regional manager told me that they have, to this date, not run a sale. Their prices
Yeah.
are their prices. And they don't run sales like they do in other stores. But, shop wherever you like, but there's another good place here in Villa
In
Park.
Villa Park.
Right, in Villa Park, right at Villa Oak Shopping Center, just a little bit west of Ardmore on Roosevelt Road. You'll be able to find it easily. Our parking lot was full a couple of times I went by there. Let's get into our introducing our guest, and that is a good friend of mine, a guy I'm very proud to know, Deputy Chief of the Villa Park Fire Department, Mike. Mike, thanks for
you.
coming to play.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome to have you. For those people that don't know you, and usually that's a good thing when you don't know all of the police officers in town. As you were coming in this morning, you said, I was looking for you, and I thought, oh no, that's not good. But in your case, it is. Tell us a little bit about you and your career in law enforcement.
Well, I've been with Villa Park for 25 years now.
Uh-huh.
Started off as a patrol officer for the first 10 years, working the different beats, the different shifts, and after about 10 years, I took on the responsibility of the DARE and grade officer,
Oh, okay.
and became involved with Neighborhood Watch and many other community organizations in town.
Yeah.
And it was a great part of my career, working with the schools, children in the schools, and I still see some at some of the events that we have in the community that are all grown up now. It's a little weird to see. And they all no, if you remember their name, and of course you don't.
Right. Well, you
But you
got 500,
try.
600 kids. Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
So yeah, after I did that, I was promoted to the rank of sergeant, supervised street patrol for a few years, and then made my way to detective supervisor. And I was in that position for about 5 years or so, and oversaw the detective and tactical units. And unfortunately, after that, I was promoted to the rank of deputy chief.
Great.
That took place 3.5 years ago.
I remember that. I remember the ceremony here at the Village Hall. That was awesome. And
I'll go back one further. That
sure.
You came out in 90?
I started in January of 1991.
91. You went to war then, weren't you?
Yes, there was.
He hired you. He hired you.
I think we were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
What was the most memorable?
Memorable. I'll say it for you.
Thank you. Thank you. You know how it is
Yes.
when you get old.
Yeah.
Activity or event that you can remember as a person.
Wow.
I like to hit people with it.
Yeah,
with a big truck.
that's a tough one, but it's been a great career. Couple that stand out. Number one is my first promotion to the rank of sergeant. I ended up number one on that list when I was promoted. It was a fantastic feeling. And of course, a couple promotions that took place along the way as well. But another one of the most memorable moments is the fact that my son works for us as well.
Right.
He was hired 2 years ago yesterday, Valentine's Day. And so that was probably one of the best occasions to see him get the start on him. And now he's out there doing the job like the rest of them, and they do a great job out there. I'm very proud of
And your son, I've seen your son out in the field working. A couple of things that I was there for. Chip off the elbow. But I have to compliment you because this has come up before, and I'll tell Dennis and Sid. You'll get embarrassed by this, but I'll tell Dennis and Sid. Mike Lay is noted in the area as being one of the best police officers, law enforcement people in DuPage County. I've heard that several times from people, and I don't have a clue why. But
Neither do
I can tell you that I've heard that from people outside of the area that know all Mike, and we're proud to have it.
He's a policeman's policeman.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and I have heard too, that if you say, hey Mike, I got a ticket, can you help me? And he'll say, what's your name?
Yeah, he'll help you write the check. That's what he'll do. So you can write your own check. And I know your brother works part-time. He's a great guy too.
Yes.
That's good to know. And your son is awesome. But we've got some issues we want to talk about today that are not so fun to talk about.
Right.
And that is the heroin crisis that's going on, and it's been going on for several years. And we were talking before this show started. Heroin's not new. It's never been new. But lately, in the last decade, it has become more than a decade. It has become more and more of a problem, and people are dying because of heroin and opiate-based prescription drugs. So, how would you describe what's happening with the heroin crisis in DuPage County? Let's not say Villa Park, but DuPage County.
DuPage County, it's grown over the last several years, and I don't know if it's because it's been easier to access or more people are finding out about it. But unfortunately, it's a problem, and one of the biggest problems with heroin is it's such an easily addictive drug.
Right.
And people can get addicted to it just by experiencing it one time.
Yeah. And heroin comes from something that is very popular to all of us and actually use a lot, and that's the poppy plant. It starts out as beautiful red flower, usually red flower, and you can see it, in gardens around the neighborhoods. And in fact, when you go and order a hot dog, you have on a hot dog bun poppy seeds.
Yep.
And in fact, I can tell you from my son working in his company had a random drug test, and he failed. And they called him up and they said, hey, you have a hot dog yesterday? Yes, I did. He failed the drug test because of poppy seeds. That's how good those drug tests are. But obviously they're able to tell the difference in a test like that. But it comes from the poppy plant. And once the flower, we'll have pictures we're showing as we do this. I got pictures of this plant. Once the flower goes away, you have like this bulb at the bottom that has all of the opiate sap that they slice on the side and let the opiate sap come out. They collect it, and then they go through this constant filtering process in order to create this horrible drug called heroin. Okay. Now, it is also used for good purposes, which is as a pain medication. And morphine, heroin, all in the same product or chemical family, are used for people who go through surgery and need pain medications, have an injury, need pain medications. I've had 10 kidney stones. I get a opiate-based drug when I have a kidney stone to stop the pain. It's not used so much in births because of the interaction of that drug with potential problems with mothers who are giving birth to a baby. But we know of it, and it's pervasive in terms of a prescription drug around all of us. But there are some important things about the effect on our county. And I know you're involved in a task force, Mike, in Villa Park here, that's working on educating the public. Can you tell us some of the statistics about, or the general nature of this heroin crisis?
In DuPage County, a program was started through the coroner's office back in 2015.
Coroner Jorgensen, right?
Coroner Jorgensen, correct.
Yes.
And what the main part of the program is to distribute a drug called Narcan to all first responders, law enforcement officers, and now I believe it's every officer in DuPage County carries Narcan. And what Narcan does is it immediately reverses the effect of a heroin overdose. So when officers are called to a scene where a person is unresponsive and there's indications that it may be a heroin overdose, they will administer Narcan. And it's not a shot, it's a nasal injection. And it will immediately reverse the effects, and the person comes out of that shock or that coma or unresponsive state that they were in, and they're able to recover. So far since that was introduced in DuPage County in 2015, there have been 100 saves through the use of Narcan by law enforcement officers for people that have overdosed on heroin.
And when you said nasal?
So it goes in through your nostrils.
How do you do it? Just, is it
Spray?
It's a spray, yeah. It's kind of like a allergy medicine that you might take or something like that. So and there's no known side effects for Narcan.
And Narcan is available in all of the squads in Villa Park, right?
It's the officers carry them on their person,
Oh,
not
not
just in the
person,
squad. Yes.
not in the squad, so they don't have to run back to the car.
Correct.
They have it on there. And without getting into specifics, it's been used in Villa Park.
Correct.
Okay, so the first responders, which includes police and the paramedics, all have Narcan available to them. And because often the police are the first ones on the scene and confirm or identify the situation, you're able to do it right then.
And that's exactly why the program started, because the officers are the first ones usually there, and those few seconds or minutes can make a ton of difference in whether you're able to save a life.
Right. And that is great. And you talked about the 100, and that is over a 2-year period. So here in DuPage County, the levels of drug overdose deaths has remained pretty consistent. In fact, it's ticking up again. Last year there was over 45 deaths in DuPage County, and in Will County there's more. There's 50 some and more, but it's pervasive across many areas, and it's not in the affluent areas. It's not like, oh, this is an affluent drug that you can buy, and if you have money you're able to afford it. That's not the case. Most of the heroin deaths are in non-affluent communities. They are in all the communities. Naperville, Hinsdale, they exist. But this is a drug that's pervasive throughout, and it needs a lot of different things. There's no real silver bullet, right, Mike?
No, there isn't.
I mean, you can't just say, do this and then everything will go away. Narcan is not the cure.
No, it's not the cure. Like I said before, unfortunately, heroin is one of the, if not the most addictive drug out there.
Right.
And when people become addicted to it, they try many things to overcome it. Sometimes they work, but in many cases they don't.
Yeah.
And they end up going back to try and get that same feeling. It gives them a feeling that attaches to receptors in their brains, and they need that back. As a matter of fact, the FBI just put out a video within the last couple of weeks called Chasing the Dragon. And it's about a 45 to 50 minute video that follows the stories of people and families and friends that were either addicted or became involved in the use of heroin. And it's a very moving, very frightening video, but it talks about the realities of how bad this drug really is and how easy it is for people to become addicted.
Okay, as we go back a little bit, then you talked to the policeman about everything. If I knew somebody who was on heroin and not helping himself, how can I get help for them in the basic?
There's a few different agencies that you may be able to go to look for help. There's one that we've been working with another organization I belong to called the Gateway Foundation, and they may be able to offer some advice. There's a couple other ones that I have in my notes that I can address later. We can add onto the video.
Okay.
But it's got to be a discussion with the person that is using, because they're the ones that are going to have to want to
do it. I can't force it. I can't force it. But would I get into trouble if I sat down with one of your officers?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
What we want to do is protect lives, save lives, help people get the help that they need. As a matter of fact, I think it still happens, but not as frequently, that people were afraid to call when they knew that somebody overdosed and was potentially going to die if they didn't get medical assistance. That they would be afraid to call 911 and report that for fear of getting arrested or getting into trouble on their own. Well, there's laws into place now that protect those people and the individuals that abuse as well. We're not going to go arrest somebody just because they overdosed on heroin.
And the friend next to him, who understands, Sid all of a sudden overdoses, and I'm with him. We're both using the drug. If I call for Sid, and you guys arrive, and I'm still there, you're saying that I then have some protections.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So report it, gets the help.
Get the help that you need.
Right. Well, there is a role for law enforcement, though, in this process, other than referrals and administering Narcan. And that is helping identify those that are providing the drug, the dealers. How is that structured here in DuPage County? Is there a task force that helps identify and find these people so that we know that they can be prosecuted for distributing drugs?
Yes, there's a task force that is part of DuPage County. It's called DUMEG.
DUMEG, D-U-M-E-G.
Correct.
Okay.
And there's several task force similar to theirs in other counties and jurisdictions, and they all work together and share information to try to help combat this. But it's a very difficult situation to combat. But the basic thing is that there are the investigators out there, the undercover officers, and they do what they can to try and uncover the dealers and go after them, and they work together to do that.
And the point I'm trying to make, though, is also that, the drugs don't come from elsewhere all the time. They can come from Chicago. There is still, West Side dealers that help with distributing the drug in this area, which is horrible. But there's also people in our area that are distributing the drug, even if it's low volume or high volume, they're here, right?
And that's where we rely on the citizens that may know something that's going on and see something to report it to us and let us know. And our department will look into it, see what we can observe, and see where that goes. But then again, we work closely with DUMEG and the other organizations if we need help, and go after the dealers as well.
On the same token, 25, 30 years ago, you from the suburbs, to get your dope, you had to go into the city, just about. And there were many places where you could see a couple of guys loitering on the corner. And if you looked, it took enough time to look at down the block, there was another, maybe one or two guys loitering. Or you knew that that was where the dope was coming from. Somewhere, either from those people, or from the center of the block. And that wasn't confined to just one spot. Dope spots, as they were called in those days, were all over.
And that's still the case. There are several of those spots there that people will go to pick up drugs that they want.
And now you're telling us that there's people out here that are, I suppose, we could call major drug dealers that would be distributing the drugs to individuals who, again, are selling them to...
I wouldn't classify them as major drug dealers. I would classify them more as people out in this area. You're going to find people that are looking to make a quick buck.
A middleman.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even when you go into the city and you're finding those people on the street, you're not going to find those that are major dealers. They're individual pockets and several big hierarchy to that whole organization. Actually selling.
And let's draw it back a little bit. Most people think, well, opium, that's Afghanistan. That's where the drugs come from. And that's true. There's a billion-dollar industry selling or creating heroin now. They used to transport the base product out and have somebody else make it. Now they do it themselves. But it comes from not only Afghanistan, but also Colombia, Mexico. Mexico's got a certain type that they call it black tar heroin that they distribute on the West Coast. And the thing that I've read and learned through these task force groups, Dan Krause, our Willowbrook High School, Steve Swanson from St. Paul's Lutheran Church is part of the task force, Scott Helton from District 88, yourself, Deb Conroy, all provide different bits of information. And there's a lot of different things related to this drug, and that is, it's different in New York than it is in the Midwest than it is in California, in a lot of cases. And sometimes that's critical in terms of the potency of the drug. In New York, it may be, when they actually use the drug, it may be 40, 50% pure, whatever the statistics are. You get to the Midwest, it's cut down a little bit, distilled or mixed with other things, and it becomes 20, 30% effective or pure. if you get a drug that's different levels of purity than the one you've been using, that in itself can trigger an overdose. And that's a big issue. And you look at the drug, and we're showing one on the screen now, it's a white powder. There's no way, in this area, it's a white powder. There's no way you can look at it and say, what's in there?
Yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons we got Mike here today. About 3 weeks ago, I think it was, DuPage County had a bad crop for heroin. The eastern part of DuPage County got hit pretty hard in 1 weekend. It was just bad.
Yeah.
They don't know what came from it, I guess.
Not that I know of, I'm not part of
Yeah.
the investigation when it gets to that level.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's part of what happens
It
because
was just a bad crop.
they lace it with this
Yeah.
fentanyl, I think it is. It's a additive that they put in there that increases the potency of it.
You scare me, Al. You know too much.
I come prepared. I got a piece of paper. It's part of the mixing process that the dealers will do, and they'll put fentanyl in there, and that increases the effect of it. But it also makes it, multiple times more of a possible overdose. And that's what you're referring to.
That's what I'm referring to. But I just wonder if they ever figure out where this bad crop came out of.
That I don't know.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to make Sid and Dennis mad.
That's again.
Okay? Have you ever
Not
got
mad, angry.
angry? Yes, not psychotic, but upset. Have you ever had pain medications?
Yes.
Do you remember what type?
What was
Vicodin,
the doctor told me?
hydrocodone,
Yeah,
Oxycontin,
yeah.
those are the names that are part of this problem too, because they are a prescription drug that's being abused, okay? Have you ever had pain medications?
As in fact, I have a bottle of pain medicine in my pocket.
You do, okay? And I've got one out here that I'm gonna show and demonstrate in a minute. But potentially, Grandma and Grandpa, you can be a distributor too to a person that's
Out of my medicine cabinet.
out of your medicine
Out of
cabinet,
it,
right? And that brings up, and let me explain that. If you have drugs that are codeine-based or opiate-based drugs that your doctor gives you in a prescription, you got your name on it, it's all legal and everything, and you don't finish it and you leave it in your medicine cabinet, if someone that comes in your house wants to use that drug, and they do, it's just as popular or useful as heroin to use for the same problem. They'll take it out of your medicine cabinet and it's gone. Okay? So the reason why I'm saying I'm making you mad is potentially you are a dealer. If you leave this out where someone can gain access to it.
I
So
don't get that money.
you don't want the money. You don't want the money.
No.
And that brings up, Mike, a question about how the Villa Park Police Department helps us get rid of these things so that they're not accessible to people who can abuse them. How do we do that?
There's at least 2 times a year, has been for the last several years, we partner with the DEA,
Okay.
and we have a drug take-back drive. So what happens is the DEA helps us distribute materials, or they give us materials to use in the police department, where we allow people to come in and dispose of any medication that they have at home that's expired, they're done using, whatever, just to get rid of it, as opposed to leaving it laying around, flushing it down the toilet or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's generally on a Saturday for about 3 hours, 3 or 4 hours in the morning, and every time we have this, we have a ton of people that come in and bring a bunch of medication, and that's great because we get rid of it in a proper way, we package it all up, it goes back to the DEA, they dispose of it in a proper way. So that's one way that we help out with. There are some various areas in DuPage County as well that have collection points. Last I looked at, some police departments, one that has a collection point in their lot.
All the time.
It's
Right.
like an old mailbox,
Yeah,
and they go in and drop off the medicine.
And we talked before the show that Walgreens just announced the pharmacy that they'll be putting those mailbox-style collection devices in their stores. I don't know if they're here in Villa Park yet, but hopefully it will be soon. But there's no potential for anybody having a problem coming in with their own prescription. In fact, you don't really look at it. You want it marked off, you're just collecting the drug and
Yep.
you dispose of it. And the other thing is, you're not supposed to put it down the drain, right?
Exactly.
And why is that?
Does it pollute the system?
The water supply. They don't really, well, you know about this, Dennis, because you're part of the Salt Creek Sanitary. There's really not a process to take it out.
It can be mixed back into your water in the future.
Right,
It can be mixed right down, you'll be drinking it.
yeah.
You know, the joke part of that, or funny part of that, is, well, of course they pour it down the toilet. I wonder if those cops to get in Salt Creek to get happy.
No, they're not. And that is a problem. But the other thing I want to tell you about is, and Mike, you know all about the fad drugs or the different ways that kids in our schools are getting involved with prescription drug abuse. And we talked a little bit about another one that you mentioned that our law enforcement at the high school, Brian Ruby told you about. But I want to point out something here. I have a medicine bottle that's got my name on it. It's a regular prescription from this pharmacy. That's my blood pressure drug. And let me tell you a little bit about the farce that could happen with this if your child, teenage child, is taking any medications. They could be abusing painkiller drugs by telling you, see, this is my asthma drug, or this is my acne medicine, whatever. And you look at it and go, yeah, that's right. And then you open it up, and inside are all the regular pills, but there's another one there, and that's hydrocodone. I get that for use in kidney stones. And I have only that one to show you because I get rid of the other ones. I don't want it. I don't want it in my house. But that is a drug that is opiate-based, and it is a controlled substance, and someone could use that for themselves or sell that to someone else as a drug to be abused and be part of this problem. Am I right?
You're exactly right. Unfortunately, that's one of the things that we do see, not necessarily around here, but it could happen any place where, as you were talking about, somebody that may have pills in their medicine cabinet that may not take the whole bottle, but take a couple out here and there.
Yeah.
Or if they're prescribed pills, knee surgeries, shoulder surgeries, kids have all kinds of surgery as well, and they're prescribed medicine like this. And they may not need to take all of it for the pain, but they may take it, let friends try one, maybe, who knows?
Yeah.
Distribute it how it shouldn't be used.
Right. And that is in itself a crime, correct? To use a prescription drug improperly, it's not the way it was intended to be used, is a crime.
Correct.
Okay, great. That's good to know. So parents, that's one thing you need to look at, what's in that medicine bottle, because there's lots of different variations. And by the way, you can look at that pain pill, and there's a number on it. And if you go to drugs.com, you put that number in, it will tell you what it is. Because it doesn't say on the pill, this is, hydrocodone. It tells you on that site, and it'll tell you if it's a potential addictive drug. So you can find out, right?
Yep.
One more thing about the high schools. The lockers in the high schools are points where kids try to hide things from law enforcement. But they're not private, right?
No, they're not.
We talked about this in terms of the high school saying how they can enforce their regulations at the schools, and that is the police department cannot go in and search a locker, but the high school can.
It's the high school's property.
The high school owns those lockers, so they go in frequently and find things that shouldn't be in there, and then refer that, if necessary, to the police department, right? Is that the way it works?
Yep.
So we've got some protection in the schools, but in the home, you got to do it yourself.
Yes.
Okay, good. Are we making arrests in this area on this topic?
There have been arrests.
Yes.
It's not prevalent where it's happening every day or every week, but occasionally there are arrests that happen.
And is the focus both the user and the distributor, or drug pusher, or how would you characterize that?
Anybody that's using it illegally is subject to arrest. And yes, when we arrest somebody for possession of a controlled substance, or cannabis, or heroin, whatever it may be, do we want to know where that originally came from? Yes.
Yeah.
We try and get that information from them, and we can't just pull it from them. We have to get their cooperation. Sometimes we get cooperation, and we can work with it to identify who the dealers are, and sometimes we can't. If we can, and we need some more help with that, like I said, we've got agencies like DUMEG that can help us out as well. So yeah, we try to get that information.
Okay. In the past, we've had a canine unit here in Villa Park that was capable of sniffing out drugs like this.
Correct.
And we're showing a picture right now of the relative size of one of these heroin little baggies or bubbles that are distributed in little packages. about the size of a dime, maybe a little bit bigger. So it can be hidden.
Yeah.
Do we still have the capability to do searches with a K-9 unit in Villa Park?
Yes, as we have done when we had a K-9, dogs are available when they're working to go out to different agencies for whatever the need may be. As a matter of fact, when you talk about the high school, there's usually a search or two that takes place with the K-9s to go sniffing through the classrooms, the lockers, the cars in the parking lot, and we do that with the assistance of several other K-9s from around the area. Jurisdictions are always helpful in calling them out. We work real close with Lombard and Elmhurst with their K-9s as well.
Yeah, good. Okay, Sid, you got any more questions?
Yeah, but I can't think of it.
Okay. Dennis?
This problem is not kids. We keep saying kids.
Right.
See, those two now, we're trying to catch kids at a younger age. To teach
We're going to make them aware
Yeah.
so that they can make better decisions.
Well, we got to teach younger adults
Yes.
about their kids too. It's bad for the kids, but the adults got to say, yeah, one of the kids need help.
We're showing a graphic right now from the two-page heroin.org site that shows where the age groups are of the deaths that occurred from heroin overdose last year.
Yeah.
And you see on this chart that the deaths, the majority of the deaths were, first of all, men versus women. Most of them are men by a wide margin. And secondly, they're from the age 20 to 35. That most of the deaths are. But you're right, and what Mike said we should listen to, because we got to get the kids understanding the effect of getting involved in these types of drugs and what it's going to do to your life, which is to basically ruin it if it doesn't kill you.
Correct, and then just to go back to my point before, sometimes the addiction is not always intentional.
Right.
Because of the fact that the pain medicines are so strong.
Right.
It's the proper knowledge of what they can do and the proper use of those
Yeah.
may be prescribed.
Yeah, definitely.
But back in the old days, you'd catch a kid, with drugs or something, and you call mom and dad up and say, come get him, come talk to us. Well, not my kid, he won't do that.
Yeah.
It's your kids, it's our kids, it's my grandkids, it's my great grandkids that are doing it.
Yeah.
And you got to help them.
Yeah.
They need your help, folks. Don't be afraid to help the kids.
This is not confined always to the lower class people.
Oh, no,
Say.
not at all.
I had a relative that, well, he was very, very big in education, dean of a law school, appointed to a circuit judge whose wife was addicted to prescription drugs. And it was just terrible. She eventually went from that, but they couldn't get weaner from it. And this guy had money, had money to burn.
Right. It's not about economic status or family. Some of it's related to your psyche. Are you prone to wanting something that gives you this feeling? That's part of it. But the other thing I want to talk to Mike about is the surround of this problem is an issue too, and that is that a person who's addicted to heroin or prescription drugs not only steals it from your medicine cabinet, but steals valuables around the home. Grandma and grandpa or mom and dad. In the neighborhoods, it goes through cars, steals stuff out of vehicles, right? Am I going in the wrong direction?
You're exactly right. We've been involved in several investigations and made quite a few arrests of heroin addicts.
Yeah.
Because they were breaking into cars, they were stealing from their family members, breaking into their houses, and selling the goods in one way or another just so they can get a few bucks. So, go get.
Yeah.
So
there's a
shoplifting.
There's a surround problem.
Oh,
too.
it's huge.
Yeah.
But quite often, people, when they get addicted, they don't get high anymore. They just get and they get sick. They don't get it. They get bad sick.
That's very true.
Well, yeah, if they don't get it, they get sick. So then they do whatever they can to make sure they don't get sick again, and they keep that high. Which is pretty much why the title for that FBI video that I was telling you about, Chasing the Dragon, is so appropriate.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. And one subject in there talks about you're chasing that first high. You got the first one, and that's why they call it Chasing the Dragon. You're chasing that first dragon. That's what they're trying to do.
I we have a friend that, fortunately, they're on, it's an opiate drug that is prescribed to take care of the opiates that they were paid, like they maybe $100 a night for, or a drug or.
Methadone. Is that what they're taking?
No, it was, I wanted to say heroin, but I'm not
Okay.
sure. If that's even an opiate, that part I don't know.
Yeah.
And so we took them from the $100 a day habit down to $100 a week habit that was getting a prescription for them and going to Walgreens and getting the filling the prescription.
And you're talking about chasing the drug, even in the bigger picture, these drugs were created as an alternative to what was in the problem before. Opium was the first real issue back in the 1890s and 1900s early, and they created morphine to help with that. This less addictive. Then it was more addictive. Then they created heroin for morphine, and it became addictive. And then methadone as a drug to help with heroin, and that's become addictive. So it's constant flow of more addiction and more problems because of this. So it's really a horrible situation. But Mike, what can we do to help get the information out? I mean, other than this conversation that are there, how do we talk to our kids? How do we make sure everybody's aware?
Just what you said is that talk to your kids.
Yeah.
Be involved in their lives. And if you notice changes, whether it's their personality, their behavior, their hygiene, their friends, more secretive, locking themselves in the room. I mean, I think, sometimes I've come across parents that are like, well, I don't want to invade my son or daughter's privacy. Well, you have to. You need to know what's going on. You need to know their social media.
Yeah.
But they don't want to be embarrassed either. That's the problem. If you get wrong group of people, you're not going to go to a group and say, hey, my kid's on drugs.
Yeah.
You're embarrassed by it.
Well,
but it's being involved in your children's lives.
Talk to them.
And talking to them, knowing what's going on with them, being a positive role model. That's a big part of it as well.
What's your best advice on how to deal with it when you find out that your son or daughter or nephew is involved with either prescription drugs or heroin?
Get somebody else involved. There's several ways to do that. Whether you want to come into the police station and talk to a police officer who can then get that information to a detective that can help out in that way. If we're talking about kids at the various schools such as Willowbrook, there's a full-time detective down there that is more than able to talk to people if they want to come and approach them in the office about their concerns, whatever that may be. His name is Detective Brian Ruby. Willowbrook also has an anonymous tip line. If you want to call because you think somebody may be using, selling, doing whatever, there's a tip line. I can give you these numbers and information later if you want to post it.
We'll put them up on the screen, sure.
There's one of the social workers at Willowbrook is very involved in helping with these issues as well. His name is Eric Engel. And so he wants to do whatever he can to help, and he can help refer to some of these other organizations and professionals that might be able to help and talk to people a little bit more. Again, there's some other websites out there that I've come across. There's drugabuse.com, which has a ton of information about, you were talking earlier about identifying what kind of pills are out there. This has a list of all the names of all different ones, what they look like, the markings. But again, it comes down to being aware and not being afraid to say something to somebody.
That's exactly what I was hoping to say, because you can't say, well, I'm not going to rat on them. I'm not going to embarrass them, because you're saving their life.
Exactly.
Hopefully saving their life.
You're saving their future, too.
Yeah.
Because if they don't get straight out now, they're in bigger trouble.
Yeah, it's not going to end well. It's not going to end well. Mike, it's been a good talk here. I hope people listening have learned something and, if appropriate, can take action and do what needs to be done, either through just being knowledgeable, being aware, as you point out, getting involved in your children's life, getting involved in your friend's life. Like you said, Dennis, it's not just high school age kids, it's adults. And if you see a friend of yours that is potentially having a problem, or help, do something. Don't stand back and say, it's not my problem. because
Someday might be too late.
might be too late. Mike,
I appreciate it,
always
gentlemen.
great to have you.
Back, thank you for
very
coming.
much.
Thank you.
Boy, is it a pleasure to listen to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of Uptown Villa Park. Our guest has been Deputy Chief of Villa Park Police Department, Mike Lay, and we thank you for watching.
Thank you for 25 years.
Thank you.